There was a question posted recently about mom, successful business, works from home, and her 4-year-old comes in every hour and says, are you done for the day? I want you to stop working. Totally. And the mom was saying, I feel guilty about this. What do I do? How do I not feel guilty? What should I say? And I think her husband is home. My husband is home watching the kids. So when I'm not with them, he's with them. And so here's what I want to say about this. Okay. A couple things. One, first, the feeling of guilt. God gives us the feeling of guilt to know if we have sinned. Okay. But moms are just plagued with guilt. I've been talking about this a lot lately. And so just check in with yourself. Did I sin here? If God has called you to work, which is a very unusual calling for a woman to receive while raising kids, but some of us have it. And when you meet enough of us, you're like, yeah, it is weird. But I have been called to run this business while raising my kids. And so working on your business, especially contained, is not sinful. You can check in with yourself. You can pray about it. I'm always discerning the work because it is such an unusual calling. Lord, is this okay? So if you sinned, maybe your kids were driving you nuts and you hid in your office for way longer than you were planning on working, and you want to repent of that. Take it to the Lord, ask for forgiveness, move on. You should come away feeling peace. Forgiveness is whole and complete and total, and God forgives you and then forgets and we move on. Okay? For most of us, though, we're feeling guilty about things that are not actually sinful, and so I just want you to get there. Go, do I need to confess this right now? No? Okay, we're moving on. Guilt is not a helpful emotion when it's not true. So, you can do that yourself every time the feeling of guilt comes up. The thing I tell my kids is, God has asked me to do this, and I am an obedient woman. I am a woman who is obedient to the will of the Lord. I love teaching them that, and I get near their little faces and I say, God's going to ask something of you someday. And are you going to be obedient to the Lord? Which is just totally true, right? That's what we want to teach them. We want to teach them about callings and that God is going to call them to things and to be obedient, even when it's hard. That's just the only answer. And I hope that's the only reason you're doing business is because you feel so convicted that God has asked you to. So conviction really for me drives so much of my work, and I think is why I don't feel guilty saying yes to the Lord, right? And I just, for me, really lean on Zaylee Martin there. She worked. She had a big business. Her business was so successful. Her husband closed his business so she could build her business. And she had a lot of employees and a lot of kids. And her main goal in life was to be a saint. So I just totally believe it's possible to want to be a saint and to run a business and to have kids. Okay. So then the next thing is just like, what are we doing about this 4-year-old? There should just be a rule that the 4-year-old can't come in the office. So for me, when my door is open, the kids can come in. And there are some activities where I don't mind being interrupted and they can come in and give me a hug or ask me a question. But when my door is closed, they may not open the door. And you might need to put a red stop sign on the door. And then that just involves some training. So whatever consequences you and your family use to train kids to not do things, I would just tell the kiddo that. And it's going to be new for the kid, right? So you're going to say, hey, kiddo, you've been getting to come in the office. Now you can't come in the office. I literally would print out a stop sign. I'd be like, when you see the stop sign, you can't come in. I would lock the door too. And then I would say, hey, Dad, can you back me up? And give a consequence to this kid when she bangs on the door and yells and makes a lot of noise. 4 is young, so the consequence might be like, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to put you in the living room every time you do that. I wouldn't harp on the kids so much. 4 is young, but training. And then when you come out, just be like, it's so much fun working with the Lord today. That's what I do. Did you know that mommy works for God? That's what I do. And so just building really a healthy view of receiving a calling and doing it, even when it's hard, I think is such a great thing to model for children. And then being really clear about rules in the family and having consequences for them. Because otherwise they're just kind suggestions. Okay? All right, you guys. I run a business, homeschool 6 kids. It's possible. And I just want you to know it's weird if God's called you to do that. It's weird. But if he did, it's true. And then we just give him our yes. All right. I love you. Praying for you.